is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Release Valve and Mental Warfare. Joined again by my brother from another and the co-host, Kyle Spain of Mental Warfare.
Yes,
Welcome
sir.
back, Kyle. Welcome
Yes,
back.
sir.
How are you feeling?
I am feeling absolutely amazing. It may sound like a broken record, but this is just an example of how the enemy attacks. Again, uh, been going through some different changes, some good changes in life. God has placed me in a new position, to grow, a new opportunity, change life, change my life, and getting to the podcast just now, during this process, it's been trying to prevent it. It feels absolutely amazing. It feels like home, as we were just talking about.
Yeah.
My brother, how are you feeling, my dude? How
Uh,
are you feeling? I'm just,
bro.
it's crazy. It's starting to stir up. The excitement is
Yes.
stirring
Yes.
up. Oh
Cuz you
my
know I'm
goodness.
feeling good. You know I'm feeling
Oh
good,
my
man.
goodness.
I am
We are here.
floating. We're
We're
back at
back,
it.
back and stronger than ever too.
Absolutely.
It is, yeah, you know, continued growth. But what is good? What do we have for the people today, brother?
You know, the we you and I talk about it all the time, and we even say that same phrase to each other, not to sound like a broken record, but it the communication that you and I have and how we go about it is a night and day difference of not having that type of relationship and not having that type of communication and being able to open up about what I have going on and and to be able to just open up about it and just release, pun
Yeah,
intended, release those mental warfares that I go on a daily basis, that go on with me on a daily basis. It allows me to just, feel like I'm getting a weight lifted off of my shoulder. I feel less heavy as I'm walking throughout the day. And I feel like because of that, I'm able to attack things better. And
absolutely.
it's instead of being on the defense all the time, I feel like I'm able to actually attack things. And it's just as simple as opening up, talking to somebody, hearing what they have going on, talking about what I have going on, and then moving on from it. You know what I mean? We don't even
Yeah,
necessarily need to come up with a resolution about anything. We don't even necessarily need to, quote unquote, fix what's
yeah,
going on. Just having those tap ins, like we say, you know what I mean? Tap in. What do you got going on? What's your day looking like? Your week looking like? And man, it has made such a difference in my life being able to do that.
yeah. A line of safety, right? There was
Mm,
a baseline of trust. Obviously, in order to be vulnerable, walls have to come down. You have to trust
right.
that person that you're giving that knowledge to, because in this society, right? Um, we often feel like we are alone, and it kind of boils back all the way down to feeling like we're alone and what we're going through, being able to have this relationship that we have. But the world is so judgmental that we're not in a space, in a safe space, to be able to be vulnerable, and that's what it takes for any type of a relationship to grow.
Right.
There has to be some type of, uh, I mean, there's so many ways that you can attack it. A line of trust, of course, right? But for whatever reason, when you open up to somebody, it's like, man, you almost receive that trust, subconsciously. It's like, man, you you trusted me enough to open up about that. Uh, in the beginning times of the relationship, that's what I'm talking about, as far as that. But lost my train of thought going on. So the line of safety, that so in this world, we're not in a place to where we can talk about our feelings, because of this bubble, this facade of a bubble, or a bubble of a facade. If I'm saying that right, of what we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to look like. Uh, and in fact, we've been lied to. We have there's a misconception, to say it better.
Mm.
as far as who we're supposed to be or what people believe they're supposed to be. And for that, there's a lot of depression, there's a lot of unhappiness, a lot of discouragement and lack of seeking purpose.
Mm.
So yeah, people who are watching, listening, John and I, we have a special bond, a special connection, and my only prayer is for you guys to find your uh, outlet at the very least, to establish someone, to find someone. I know it's not easy, especially in this world, to try and connect with someone or to find a safe environment for you to be able to be vulnerable on a very surface level, right? Just getting it out, just you just feel better anyways, right? That's what you just
Right.
said. So,
And that's all
uh,
it is. I love that you said that safe. We're creating a safe and supportive environment for each
yeah,
other to be vulnerable, right? And to feel comfortable in doing that, because that's ultimately what it is we're uncomfortable talking about our vulnerabilities, the things that
yeah,
don't make us feel good, the things that make us feel sad, the things that we're depressed about, um, the things that we're afraid of, that type of stuff. We're afraid to talk about those type of things for fear of judgment or
yep,
whatever it is. And so again, we're not saying to go out there and find your best friend or find your brother or your sister or something like that. If you can, if you have that, great, and if you can find something like that, that's amazing. But ultimately, what we're saying is just find somebody that you can open up to, and in turn, it feels good to allow somebody to open up to you too. You know what I mean? Put yourself in a
yeah,
position to where you're receiving somebody else's information, you're receiving somebody else's fears and insecurities,
right. That's like
and
that trust. Yeah,
exactly,
it's
you
like
build that bridge and you have somebody else cross that bridge with you. You're building a bonding experience with that
yes,
person. You
and
know what I
that's what it
mean?
is.
And that's how
Yes,
you get those strong relationships. That's how
right.
like Vaca said on here on that episode, shout out to Vaca. That's how you know who your real ones are. That's how you know that you need to have in your life, or those type of people. Now, I'm not saying those are the only type of people you can have in your life, and to cut off everybody else that you can't be open and honest and vulnerable with, and they can't do that with you too, because again, that can be kind of exhausting too, just constantly deep diving into every little thing and allowing
Yeah,
everybody
no,
else to
for
deep
sure.
dive into all their shit with you too. But at some point you got to be able to do it. You got to be able to tap in, like we say, release what you have going on, hit that, pun intended, hit that release valve, and then you can move on from what you have going on, or you can attack those issues that you were just discussing, right?
Absolutely. Uh,
So,
So
um,
today's episode, people, is uh, you know, giving you some ideas and some information, some background on why it's important to communicate your feelings. Um, just to bring up a couple, we'll start with one point that 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 has come up on during some research, and there's a lot, right? There's it's crazy because communication is the root. It is the key factor of being able of expression, um, being able to get your point across, and that's one of the things. Clarifying your feelings, expressing your feelings can help you understand how you actually feel, and it'll help other people understand how you feel. Now, some people have issues with communicating,
right.
but I was just telling my daughter this, just telling Mia this the other day. 'Cause she has a problem talking about her feelings. Telling her, I'm like, we're not mind readers. Like, we can't help you if you don't tell us what's going on. If you don't tell
Mm.
us what's wrong, we can't fix it. If you don't like mushrooms on the pizza, like, you have to say that. Like, like, obviously,
Right.
like, we want you to give you the pizza that you like. Oh, that's just a little small example, but um, expressing your feelings can help you understand how you actually feel and help other people understand how you feel, and also
But man, that's so
improving
deep.
relations.
I can,
Yeah,
that, like you said, it's just a small example, but my mind immediately went so far with that little example, because I'm like, man, that's such a good, metaphor or analogy with life too, right? You know, So your daughter doesn't like mushrooms on the pizza. She doesn't communicate that, so she just doesn't eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so she
Right.
just doesn't eat, and then she's
Right.
not eating, so she's going to have a chemical reaction to not eating. She's going to start getting upset, have
Yeah.
her body will shut
There's going to be a
down.
domino
You're not
effect.
going to
Yeah,
be
for sure.
feeling good. Then you guys are getting upset because you don't know what's going on, and she's not communicating, and then that creates a different dynamic between you guys, right? There's lack of
Yeah.
communication. Now I'm not saying this is what happened, but I'm just saying, this is how it can negatively affect and have a long-term negative effect
Absolutely.
if you don't nip this type of
1000%.
stuff in the bud. Because then if she's not eating, you know what I mean, like how far that will go and how
Yeah.
far of a negative effect that will go. And if she's not communicating, she starts building off of that. And little, this simple little thing that can fix it is just saying, hey, I don't like mushrooms on the pizza. Okay,
Yeah.
but we don't have to get pizza with mushrooms on it. Now she's eating. Now she's knows that she can communicate. She has that trust that she can communicate and be heard, and that her
Absolutely.
feelings matter. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different ways that can actually have a negative or a positive effect depending on which way it goes. And it's like I said, my mind just started going crazy as soon as you said that. It's like, man,
Yeah.
that's such a good one because that's exactly what we talk about all the time with those little adjustments that are made and how much of a better you know reaction or response you're getting because of those little things.
Yeah.
And it comes down to communication, right?
My goodness.
Just that little
You-
bit.
That just stirred up some thoughts. Like, so, just thinking about, like in that example that I used, and uh, as you started to continue to harp on that, to piggyback that, I thought about relationships, right? And how many people are in relationships? I mean, it's scale, right? My mind just got blown right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a large spectrum. Initially, I was going in the category of people that are in relationships and they're in a relationship, not to say toxic, but a relationship, a negative relationship, or a relationship to where their feelings or their voice isn't being heard.
Mm-hmm.
They often keep their feelings to themselves, or significant other doesn't validate their feelings. Um, for you people out there that are in that type of relationship, that's a red flag, 100%. You know, because those relationships can only get more toxic, right? Because being in a marriage for 14 years and a marriage through God, God gets all the glory. Being able to communicate with my wife has been the sole reason why we're still married today.
Right.
Because we were able to communicate and to 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 address what the problem was, but not only that, to really understand where one another coming, like we talked about, because simple word can change the concept or the meaning of a sentence, right? Placement, how you say something can change the whole context of the situation. So if that's not explained, our brains receive it, we perceive it however we perceive it in one
We're going
way.
to fill in the blanks that we
Ex-
come up with.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where relationships start to go
100%.
south.
Yeah.
Like it's, there has to be a certain line of establishment as far as communicating and speaking clearly, because one word will change everything. And it's like, oh, I thought you meant that. And not even just that, just man, there was another day, there was one time, Amanda, just a simple phrase like what generates our thoughts doesn't is not the same as anyone. Let me back up. The biggest mistake that I've made, I'm going down a rabbit hole in the low, that I've made is thinking that other people think that I get like I, right? Not everyone thinks the same,
Ooh. Oh
right? And
man.
so, right? And I think like I don't feel like I'm the only one in that, right? I feel like a lot of people often think that, and that's where I feel like where judgment comes off. But
Yeah,
as far
100%.
as the topic at hand, um, we're not going to completely understand everything that where you're coming from unless it's explained. So
That's
Uh,
it. That's it, man. And like you said, how many opinions and thought processes and feelings and emotions get based off of a lack of communication.
yeah,
And like I was saying, we're going to fill in we're going to fill in the blanks the way that we see it. And
right.
that's never the case from the other side of it. And I've heard this quote before, and I know I've said it on here before: as thin as it is, even a piece of paper has two sides to it.
Absolutely.
And
That's a principle of the world.
that's it.
There's a different side to everything.
Exactly. So
There's
having that
another side to everything.
communication, you're seeing that other side of it. You're getting their, they're filling in their blanks, and it helps you
Right.
get a better understanding of where they're coming from. Excuse me, and vice versa. You communicate, they have a better understanding where you're coming from. Entire arguments and could be built off of a lack of communication and filling in
Absolutely.
blanks that don't need to be filled in or being filled in incorrectly. And when you communicate that, you take away those blanks. And so, I say this so many times: your feelings are never wrong, because your feelings are
Right.
based off of a reaction to what's going on, but it's your mind and your thought process that can be wrong. So
Yes.
if you have feelings based off of your mind and the blanks that you're filling in yourself, your feelings aren't wrong, but your mindset is wrong. So having that communication and getting that better understanding of where that other person is coming from, you're like I said, not filling in those blanks, and therefore you're having a better mindset and a better reaction to what the situation is. And that way your feelings aren't going to be as you're not going to have those same feelings attached to it, right?
Yeah.
My wife and I, we've had those type of similar situations too, where we didn't communicate right off the bat, and we formed our own opinion off of something, and our feelings were never wrong. We would explain how we were feeling, and getting upset that the other one was feeling the way that they were feeling.
Right.
But again, it's there. Your feelings are your own. You can't help that.
Yes.
It's like
Right.
dreams. You can't help your dreams, and you're going to have a response to that. So, but it's your mindset that we got to work on, and the only way to do that is to have that communication.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Next, the next thought, and piggyback, piggyback that, um, helping you find solutions.
Mm.
Sharing your feelings can help you find solutions to problems you face. And we were just talking about that the other day. Oh, let me rewind. Um, for the people out there, Sean and I, we talk on a daily basis since being able to reconnect. That's one of the blessings of our connection. And it's not to rub it in anybody's face, you know what I'm saying? It's just about being grateful first of all, and then finding somebody that you can communicate with. But that clip you sent me earlier about being able to communicate with somebody on a daily basis and improve your life uh, dramatically was a huge point. And we talk on a daily basis, and it's helped us, you know, battle a lot of the storms that we've been going through. Being able to have that line of trust, that level of trust that you can't really find in a lot of places,
Hmm.
and how important it is to being able to have someone else to talk to, because like we talked about, it boils right back down to living in this world and feeling like we're living it by ourselves, like our experiences are something that we're the only ones experiencing, right? And helping others learn from your experience, sharing your feelings can help others learn from your experience. That's what communication as well is about. This is what the podcast is about, right?
Hmm.
It's about talking about our feelings, it's about talking about expressing, to talk about releasing. It's about talking about our warfares, because we all experience them on a daily basis,
Right.
right? I mean, this is a broken record, but it is so prominent. It is, what's the word that I'm looking for? Hazardous.
Yeah.
Not sure if that's it, but it's because the whole world is suffering from not being able to express themselves, and it leads to depression, and it leads to to discouragement. It leads to
Well, like you said, loneliness, you know what I mean? Like
loneliness. Like
even
I'm going
if
through this
you're just
alone.
going through the issues that you go through at work and you feel like you can't open up about it, you feel like that you can't talk about it. That builds up, that festers, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so then again, you're going to start having a negative outlook towards work. And then that's going to be negative, feelings that you have building up inside of you. Negative, no matter if it's just a feeling or a thought process, you can even have a physical reaction to that, right? That's why there are
absolutely.
different ranges of people that react to different things and are able to handle, some people are able to handle more than others because it's a mental aspect to it. In being able to communicate even just those little things relieves that negativity, relieves that negative stress that gets built up, and that in turn can help not have those negative thought processes and not have those negative feelings towards something. And even if you're doing that just a little bit, even if it's just again, to reference Vaca, what he was saying, those micro fractures,
Yeah, micro fractures.
you
Yeah,
heal those with those micro healings, that
yes,
builds up too. And therefore,
absolutely.
so then when you have those negative things that arise, you don't have a negative mindset towards it. It's just something that comes and goes, and it's not that big of a deal. It is what it is. That's the difference between being able to say, "Hey, it is what it is," to "Oh, here we go again," or "Why
Right,
me?" Or you know what I mean? Like,
right.
"Oh,
Right.
par for the course. This is how it goes." Like, you're able to brush things off so much easier, so much faster, and again, it allows you to have just a more positive mindset towards life in general. So the more
Absolutely.
that you're able to have those micro healings, and if you're able to do it with more people, you're just kind of walking around having these micro healings all day
Or
long.
or start a group, right?
Yeah,
Or like we have, right? Our little handstand group, which is going public soon, people.
yeah.
Man,
They've
how
we've
much?
referenced it in the past. We for those that maybe remember early on some of the early episodes we talked about it. We are still going strong with those handstands. Still
Yeah,
putting them in on a daily basis. There's four of us now that are doing it. Shout out to Ryan and Marky.
yes, sir.
We don't have a name or anything like that, not yet at least. So stay
And
tuned for
yeah,
that. But again, having that tribe, because ultimately
the clan, hold the handstand clan. Did
the
we just think? Hold
handstand
on.
clan,
Well, we'll see how it works out. But
the
man, we
clan
want you
stand.
guys.
But
Yeah, oh my God.
but just having people that we can go to and even just have those little small victories, like in that small support team that we have, it's an amazing thing, the amazing feeling that we get when we get on there. We send each other videos of us doing handstands or handstand walks. Sometimes we do a little bit of workouts and stuff, and just the
Yeah,
support.
it's an accountability group.
Yeah,
Support a group of encouragement and uplifting
the
and holding each
rallying,
other
the
accountable.
way we rally behind each other, man, it's so addicting. And again,
Yeah,
like you said, holding each other accountable. I see you guys doing handstands or getting a workout in or whatever. I immediately, that juice starts flowing for me, the blood starts going. I'm like, oh, I got to get one
yeah.
in too.
I got to get one.
I got to do
Exactly.
something type of thing. And again, the support that we get from that, and it's not fake. We're not sitting there like, oh, nice job, but we're truly happy for each other that
Right,
we're going out and we're doing something physical with ourselves, and that
right.
we are having that support system, that safe space, like you said, and that we're able to be vulnerable with each other in that regard. You know what I mean? You don't see people
Yeah,
just doing that type of stuff and sharing it. You know what I mean? So we're putting ourselves out there, and this is just an example for people. We're not saying, we're not challenging you to start doing handstands or anything like that, but find something. Find
yeah,
something. There's plenty, especially nowadays with the way social media is and just online in general. You can find a tribe of people that are doing something positive that you can get in on. My wife is in a
yeah.
book club now. Her and a bunch of her
Awesome.
homies, they read books, they get together, they're at book club right now. Shout out to the one more chapter crew. Um,
Ah, nice.
You know, yeah, they get together, they pick books, they read them, they go over it, they talk about their opinions on it. You know, so even just
That's
it's
heavy.
I was just gonna say, even something just as
Man,
simple as talking about books, you're still expressing your feelings about something. You're
and
still talking
connecting with
about your
somebody else,
mindset and
right?
connecting with other people, hearing
Sharing
their
experiences.
takeaways from Summit. You guys are all reading the same thing, but you're having
Yes.
different experiences while you're reading it, right? And so they're
Wow.
talking about those things. They're opening up
Yep.
about what they have going on. And so, again, that's just another example of different things that can be done. You can just read books with people. You can do handstands with people. Just talking about the things that we have going on in our lives. There are plenty for the mothers out there. There are plenty of mom support groups that you can hit up and find and chat with and open up about. And if nothing else, you can't find anybody out there to level with you on any little thing, you can always hit up Kyle and myself and come
Hey,
on here,
understand what's
you know.
happening. Man, that lead everything you just said, man, what we talked about earlier of just being able to share ideas, and it goes back to the book club that you're talking about, sharing experiences with people. Iron sharpens iron. Iron, oh my God, iron. Iron, I'm saying that funny. But anyways, surrounding yourself with good people though too, right? Because like we talked about, and it's in the Bible too, and there's scripture on it. Surrounding yourself with people that are encouraging and uplifting, and that are about you and for you, because it's thought provoking, right? When we're
Right.
talking about just expressing ourselves, just in the communication, the expression itself, are generating solutions as you think about them. As it's coming out of your mouth, you might find a solution as it's coming out. Whereas you may have not had that thought had you not expressed your feelings or communicated those feelings in the first place. And just like you said about the book club, when you're sharing experiences with other people, especially multiple other people, and you're sharing the same passion too, right? Because that's a different level, right? Because that is a different level of connection
Right.
and bonding.
That raises
That
the
that
the bar up a little bit higher.
exactly. Now the thoughts are just you're just generating thoughts, and it's like, oh my goodness, that was a good idea. That was a good idea. I'm going to use that. I'm going to do this.
Right.
I mean, we weren't meant to have. We don't have it all, you know, and that's why it's important to have a group because you can learn so much from so many different people, and that's what we're trying to do, right? That's why everyone's story is important, right? That's why talking about
100%.
what you've gone through is important because it's like, damn, finding solutions to whatever the problems that they were going through may be, applicable to their life, like, so it's, I mean, there's so many reasons as to why communication is important.
It's the key. It's the key to success. It's the key to happiness. It's the key to so many things, man. Just being able to communicate and everybody appreciates it. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to be mad, and if they are, that tells you something about them, right? You know, you
Yeah.
open up about something and they get mad about it. You know, nobody has to like how you feel or like every little thing, but you got to be able to have that type of communication. You got to be able to open up and talk about it, and you got to be able to listen to what somebody else has going on too, because again, you just have
Yep.
your own dialogue, your own internal thought processes going on, bouncing off your own walls type of thing. You're going to form your own opinions about stuff, and there's so many people in the world, there's too many people in the world for you to think that your thought process and your mindset and how you feel is the only thing that's valid and the only thing that people really need to worry about, and everybody should base themselves off of you. Like, man, that's got to be the most narcissistic, like that's
Yes.
got to be the
Like,
definition of narcissism, right? Of thinking that
man,
it's
with
your
all
mindset and your feelings that matter and nobody else's.
right, I
Everybody else
just
is
think that is
wrong.
right. I think that is absolutely mind blowing. It all ties in. It's all about the mind and thoughts and how we think about things. But there are 8 billion people in the world. So that means there's 8 billion different mindsets. Regardless of how close you come to somebody else as far as
Doesn't matter.
mindset, you're still going to have a different mindset. You're going to live a different life. And through those experiences, it's going to provoke different thought cycles. You're going to think about things different. But, speaking of thought cycles, um, everything provokes a thought, right? Everything that we're receiving, we're watching, listening. We kind of talked about that before too.
Mm.
Uh, So being careful with that, but that's kind of off the side. We're talking
That's
about
right.
expressing our feelings.
I got sidetracked with my own ramble there when you said, you made mention of who it is that you have in your circle, right? And who it
Yeah,
is that you're opening up to. Because again,
yeah,
there are some toxic people out there. And odds are you're related to them or you grew up with them or, I mean, shit, you may even be the toxic person, right? But,
right.
um, but again, that's why you got to be able to have that type of communication and be able to form, be mindful of the type of communication that's coming in and out, whether it's visual or verbal or whatever it is. Yeah, be mindful of that. We're talking about having good, healthy conversations. We're not talking about
Yeah,
sitting back and just talking shit and putting negative things out there. When you and I talk about anything negative, we're looking to either just open up about it, but we're looking to resolve it somehow, move past it even, or whatever the case is. Our negative isn't a negative that's directed towards anything or anyone. You know what I mean? And if you
what
find
do you mean?
yourself,
Oh, you okay? Oh, sorry, it froze up real quick.
did it freeze up a little bit? We're not having, the negatives that we bring up and talk about, we're not directing that towards anybody or anything, right? We're,
Right.
we're, we're addressing it, we're recognizing it, we're not denying it, but we're not directing it towards anybody. And that's a big difference between, venting about something or talking shit about something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
So be mindful of that because talking shit about something can be fun, but be mindful of how you're doing it because that's just putting negativity out there, and your
Yeah.
subconscious
That's
bill
energy.
exactly, it feeds off of whatever it is that you're putting out there, right? So if you're
Yeah.
putting out negative energy, that's what you're going to get used to dealing with. You're going to be used to hearing it. You're going to be used to be talking about it. Get used to talking about good things, get used to talking about, get used to positive energy getting put out there, get used to being the one that's putting positive energy out there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
Um.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, so we talked about that. We talked about that the other day. And it all ties in, so we can talk about it. But you had mentioned, thoughts, right? Your own thoughts. You have mentioned, yeah, and that stuck with me, bro. Like so I want you guys to think about this, people who are listening. And you said, I never thought as myself to be the enemy, my own enemy, meaning like the enemy to yourself. And when you're talking bad about yourself, whether it's out verbally or in your head, you're still feeding your subconscious, whatever, and especially if it comes out, you're feeding what you just said, whatever it is, latching on to, right? Whatever it is, wherever it's traveling, it's energy, negative energy. And so you have to be careful with what your thoughts. That's why we talk about being positive. And this is something that I've become so aware of. And your thoughts are energy, right? So we're thinking about it in a different sense of the word. You know, let's talk about things that are uplifting. The example of finding out that you're about to go to Disneyland, right? Like, how are you going to feel? Like, say you hadn't eaten all day, right? You're about to go to Disneyland. You find out you're about to go to Disneyland. Like, how hyped are you going to be? Your body's going to send dopamine to to I need to get my science right, but it's going to send it through your body, and now you're hyped up, your juice, you're running on adrenaline, you're excited, it's uplifting, you're moving, right? You're driving, you're dancing because you're feeling good, right? Because that's positive, that's good thinking, right? That's energy, that's positive energy, that's something that you heard verbally, like you're about to go somewhere, and so you're uplifted. But like, imagine if somebody was like, somebody told you we were about to go to Disneyland and they took it from you, right? Boom, like we're not going anywhere. What's going to happen, right? It's going to be a downer. It's going to be fatigue. It's going to make you tired. It's going to make you slump. It's going to make you discouraged. Now you don't feel like doing things. Now you're sad, right? So those same things are happening in your mind when you tell yourself that you can't do something. When you're telling yourself this, like telling yourself I suck, or like I can't do this, or especially with being envy, like you see in other people, and you're like I'm not
Mm,
capable. I'm not doing this. Like my life sucks, and all of that type of stuff is feeding your subconscious, and thus And I said the other day, your thoughts create your future, right? So everything
Right.
that you're thinking about is a projection of how you feel. And so we have to actively change how we're thinking so we can change the way our lives, like, because like you said the other day, bro, it's like life is life, but it's how we approach it is the difference in our energy. You know, we can
Right.
choose to be happy, we can choose to be grateful, right? And so your thoughts are really important. And like Sean said, being able to be a good listener too, right? Because learning is listening, right? Especially what we're trying to do here, right? We're talking about each other and continuing to sharpen our sword, but getting that knowledge and continuing to grow is the most important part as well. Now I'm really going down the rabbit
No,
hole.
no, I do the same thing, man.
Oh my
But
goodness.
again, that's why I consider myself a student of life, right? I'm not a teacher of
Hmm.
life. I'm not the one that walks in and starts talking. I need to listen because that's how I'm going to learn, like you said, and that's how I've become a student of life. Is I started listening and observing more of what was going on around me instead of being so focused on trying to be a teacher, I guess, and
Hmm.
trying to preach what I had going on without even actually having a good understanding of what it is I had going on, right? I was just in a
Right.
constant state of trying to tell people how it was instead of hear how it is. And, maybe that's how I would get a better understanding of why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. Um, but again, without going down a rabbit hole, but to touch base on what you were referencing when I said I never looked at myself as the enemy, and that was that negative mindset that I had.
Right. Exactly. It's the
Not
mindset that everyone has.
well,
I
right,
mean, we are our own. Oh my gosh, I can't talk to that. We are our own worst enemy.
100%, and it was that realization of again, I was hanging my hat on what I'm saying and the things that I'm doing is legit because of how I feel.
Hmm.
And going back to what I was talking about before, your feelings are never wrong. It's your mindset that can be wrong. And so I was focusing on my feelings and not my mindset.
Yeah,
And I wasn't looking at the things that were going on around me so much as I was focusing on just how I was feeling. And
I
it's
love
like,
that. And man, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
no,
My bad.
I was just going to say another thing that I said to you. It was like being in the driver's seat on autopilot and getting mad that the car wasn't taking the turns that I wanted it to take. Well, I mean, you're in the driver's seat.
Yeah,
Take a hold of the wheel. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
that was one of the major turning points for me was realizing that I
That's
am
awareness.
more in
That's
control of
yeah,
what's going on around me. I can avoid this traffic if I choose to avoid it.
yeah,
I can find these better routes to take. And once I had that realization, man, again, I realized how wrong I was because of the mindset that I had. My
yeah,
feelings were legit. Nobody would look at how I was feeling off of the things that happened and say, no, that that's wrong. But again, it was the mindset that I had that was wrong. And I didn't allow anybody to look at that. I didn't allow anybody to focus on that. It was only how I'm feeling, and I'm justified how I'm feeling, this and that, and just anger.
yeah,
I was my own enemy, and I didn't even
yeah.
realize it. I was looking at everybody else as if they were the enemy.
That's huge, bro. That's awareness right there, and I guess realization uh, trans translates to awareness. Um, but it really just clicked for me with the mindset. You're you're entitled, maybe so, maybe not, to your feelings, right? Uh, at that moment, but being able to use your mind to assess situation and to reflect on if your feelings were valid is something very different,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Because I feel like that's kind of like, is that what you were saying? I guess I should have asked, I should have clarified if that's what you meant, because I interpreted it. That's how I received it. You know, because a lot of people, we act on our emotions, we act on our feelings.
Right.
And usually that takes us down, the wrong path, right? It leads us to destruction. And I feel like that's heavy, because everyone is entitled to their feelings, especially because of the experience that they are going through. Going back to what you just said, there's always two sides of a story. There's always two sides to something.
Right.
So I honestly feel like everyone is entitled to feel how they feel about a certain situation. Now, like we talked about, like I guess it takes you in that situation to understand, if how you felt about that particular situation, valid or not. But at the same time, what we go through is valid. And I feel like if we don't have that experience, we can't judge people for feeling how they feel. Right. And
Right.
so it, I really like what you said about that. And then having the awareness, that was awareness, what you just said right there. Being able to sit back and be like, well, like this, what was I legit to feel that way? Or,
Right. And
oh,
well, what helps with that is talking about it, opening up.
hey,
You know
there
what I
you go,
mean?
full circle.
And that, exactly, to bring it all back around, that's exactly what it was. I was able to start talking about things. And because that was a big thing with me too. I had a lot of relationships fail because I didn't open up about what I had going on. I would just kind of move on and past things because,
Mm,
men don't talk about their feelings. You know what I mean? It
yep.
wasn't like that. I knew that I was a sensitive person and that I was an emotional person. So I didn't want that to bleed over whoever I was dealing with. So I would suppress it and deny it and try to fight that. But in turn, because I was and am a sensitive and emotional person, I was having kind of over dramatic reactions to while trying to suppress everything. You know what I mean? It's like how we
Mm.
were talking about before, being upset about something and somebody coming in and saying, "Hey, is everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'm like,
Yeah, right.
clearly
Which
you're
is a
not fine.
right,
So,
exactly.
and
And
so it
go
was
ahead.
just all this over dramatized, reactions. Because again, it was almost like I was trying to prove that there was something wrong, but that I was man enough to hide it and
Right,
suppress it and not
exactly.
deal
You
with
were
it.
tough
Right?
enough. You
Yeah,
were tough enough just
I
to
can
handle.
still function without addressing those problems. I'm a man, damn
Right.
it. And again, that toxic masculinity that we've talked about before, it was just the wrong mindset. And but again, bringing it back even further, having those tap ins, and whether it's with yourself or with somebody else, is the difference maker. Because sometimes, even without getting somebody's reaction to something, even just opening up about how you feel, sometimes just hearing yourself say it, you almost hear how ridiculous it can be sometimes. Like, now if I'm
Yeah.
saying this out loud, like, I guess I was doing a little too much, or I did take it a little too far, or whatever the case is. Sometimes just hearing yourself talk about it, you'll gain a different perspective.
Absolutely.
So
It sounds so much differently coming out than it does in your head.
a hundred
Or it
percent,
could, right? But like you
I think
said,
so. I
right.
think so, because sometimes even when you do that, it validates it even more for you. Like
It's
sometimes you're a
confirmation.
little unsure
It's
about how you're
confirmation.
feeling, and then you say it, and it's like, well, nah, I was right in that situation, or whatever the case is. Like it kind of, yeah, it confirms it for you.
Yeah, I
You
mean, I
get that
think that's the
self
difference.
validation.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference in, this is in scripture too, where you can't take things, you can't take what you say back. Like it's like thinking something about somebody, and like that is like you're bridging a connection with another source of energy. You're bridging a connection with somebody else's soul or spirit, however you want to slice it. And
Hmm.
um, when you say it, it becomes true. That's why your thoughts. That's why it's important to do self affirmation.
Hmm.
To talk good about yourself, and sooner or later, it's like somebody believing their own lie, right? Like sooner or later, your subconscious is going to believe whatever it is that you're feeling is
It's
so
gonna hard to
important.
be harder to differentiate the truth and a lie, and therefore harder to validate your feelings because it's based
Yeah,
off of, yeah, based off of a
because
lie.
your subconscious doesn't discriminate.
It does
It
not. Your subconscious
it
does not
absorbs.
give a shit. And so, yeah, what you're putting out there, bro, like that's that law of
Right.
attraction that we've talked about too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That manifestation.
yeah. I mean,
You're
it's all
putting
about
that
the
shit
mind and
out
our thoughts,
there.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
exactly. Absolutely. All right. What else we got? Helping you avoid the pressure. Keeping your feelings to yourself can cause pressure, which can have an adverse effect on your mental, physical health.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about the mind and body connection,
Yes,
and
it's physical.
yeah, you can absolutely have a physical reaction to a negative
Stress.
mindset,
Yep.
and vice versa. If you're
Or
doing negative things to
exactly
your body, it
what
can
we talked
have
about.
a negative reaction on your mind. That, yeah, talking about food, alcohol, content, whatever you're putting into your body, if you don't do that the
Hmm.
right way, that can absolutely have a negative effect on your mind.
Yep. Along with those thoughts. I mean, we talked about that. I mean, the thoughts are what leads to all of that. Man, it's so crazy how we're literally powered by something spiritual. If that makes sense. Like we can only operate in the form of spiritual, like, 'cause what moves us, right? Like what, like I'm going into some deeper thought type stuff, but like if you think about it, we're just a vessel, right? We have a soul, right? We have a spirit. That's what causes the emotion. What is emotion? That you can't touch that, right? You can't
Right.
touch emotion, right? You can only feel it. That's something that's on the inside.
It's
That's not on the
energy.
outside.
No
It's energy.
matter how you look at it or
Exactly.
what your beliefs are, there is some sort of energy driving us, from within, and it's not that physical energy. There's,
Right.
yeah, is it a soul? Is it, whatever the case is? Again, whatever your beliefs are, not to go too far down that rabbit hole with anybody, but but there is something there, right?
I
And
mean, we're
if
talking
you're
about the science of it all. I mean,
exactly
we're
so,
talking about the reality of what's actually going on in our body, right? Of the reality of what's happening when we leave stuff when we keep our feelings inside. That's all real. That's backed by science, regardless of what
100%,
religion you believe in. You know what I mean? Like that's the reality of the world. Like
a
it's
hundred
all
percent.
we're based off an atom, right? Which is energy, right? I mean, this is like more on the science level of things, but I think that if we have a better understanding of what we're actually made of and what's actually happening, when we keep our thoughts inside or keep that negative energy inside, okay, even when we're happy, right? Don't we want to share that with somebody?
Yeah,
Right? We want
every
we
time.
want to we want to share that energy with somebody. What is that? Right? So like you can't just hold it in, right? I have to get this out. I have to tell
Right,
somebody,
right.
right? And so I mean, if we're talking about vice versa on the flip side, it's the same thing.
But again, that's why it's so important to even just talk in a positive manner, whether it's about yourself or even if it's a negative topic, approach it with a positive mindset. Again, talking about manifestation and the law of attraction, there's a difference between saying I'm anti-war or I'm pro-peace.
Different,
You know what I mean?
it's different. Yeah,
So
it's received
anti
differently.
is against, right?
Yeah,
War is obviously bad, right? So,
yeah,
but if so, that's two negatives that you're saying right there. In the guise of
right.
saying something positive, right? Saying I'm anti-war, you think that's something good, right? But pro peace, that's a double positive that you're
Yeah,
putting out
Th-
there, and you
right.
think you
So,
think you're saying the same thing, but it's
but
not
you're not, because where's your energy at, right? I love that.
exactly.
Whereas because if you're like I'm anti-war, that comes like you said, it's a negative. It's coming from a more of a source of hate, right?
Exactly.
Versus going to like it's where your heart is at, really. You know, it's how you're feeling about that thing, where your energy at. I absolutely love that, because I'm pro peace. This means this is what I really want. You know,
Exactly.
like
And that's what
I
you're
don't
putting
re
out there.
and
That's what's being
that's the
projected.
exactly, and that's the focus, right? I absolutely love that. I have to write that down. Pro peace versus anti war, and people, I hope that you got it. I hope you received it the way that I received it. And so it goes along the same lines of having to be careful of what you're saying about you and others, right? Um, not in just any form, but being conscious of how we're saying it,
Right.
right?
Because
Because that
again,
makes a
that's
difference,
two very similar things, and you think that
right?
you're being positive, that you're expressing yourself in a positive way. But again, there's a big difference between saying negative words in a positive light or saying positive words in a positive light. Two
Yeah,
completely different things. And what that energy that you're putting out there, that manifestation of what's building, is either positive or negative depending on how you word it. So that's why, like you said, it's so important to be conscious of how you're going about these things. You
yeah,
know, and that's what I was saying. There's a difference between talking shit about something and venting about something. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's so important. The quality of these tap ins. You know, the quality of the conversations that we're having. It's not just a matter of having the conversation. How are you having that conversation? How are you going
yeah,
about these things? Even if it's a conversation with yourself, what are you saying about yourself? You know what I mean? Are you saying I'm fat and out of shape? Or are you saying, or should you be saying, I have opportunities that I need to get better at? You know what I mean?
right,
Or, something along those lines. Like,
right.
say,
It's something that
you
needs to be
know,
practiced. I love it. I feel like
oh,
that's a great
100%.
exercise. I feel like that's a great exercise that I feel like we need to
How
tackle.
can you
Maybe that can be
substitute the
exactly.
negative words? Look at the sentence that you're saying,
Oh
find the
my
negative
goodness.
spots in it and see what you can do to turn it around. That is an exercise that you can actually physically do.
That's huge, bro, and that's something that we should absolutely do. And then try and we'll bring this up on the next episode. Uh, but going through that challenge, right, of taking, because that's essentially, taking a negative and turning it into a positive. That's exactly what you were
That's
talking about,
legit.
as
Yeah.
far as there's two sides to everything, right? There's a positive and a negative to everything, if it's depending on how you look at it, right?
Right.
No, there's always the two sides, but how you look at it is the difference of how you either get better or how it affect you worse.
Right.
And so you have to be conscious of it, actively trying to be conscious of what you're saying and converting those negative those negative sentences or negative thoughts or statements into something positive will only bear you a positive outcome, positive result in some
Every
fashion,
time.
right? Because like we talked about, planting the seed, every thought, every word, every deed is a plant, is a seed that you plant in the world for a harvest for you to receive, and whatever you plant into the world on a daily basis, because we're doing it on a daily basis, right? That's why your thoughts create your future. I love that. I love that line. Your thoughts create your future. So
That's
whatever
it.
you think about is a seed that you're putting into the world, and that's the reflection. That's the result that you're getting when we go out to the everyday world, and then we're blaming everybody else for why our world sucks or for why our life sucks,
Right.
right? But it starts with us, right? It starts with our thought. It starts with how we think about ourselves, because ultimately that's where it's at. 'Cause if we were confident, we wouldn't care about what other people thought, right? So,
Exactly.
um,
And how do you
no,
build
absolutely,
confidence?
yeah,
Stop being so negative.
exactly, yeah.
Right.
Oh, but you gotta rep it too, right? Repetition, no practice.
That's it. And again, definitely not trying to talk about anything like we got it all figured out and that it's
Absolutely not.
easy. That's why
That's
we're
why we're
talking
here.
about it. Exactly. That's why we're here. That's why we started this podcast, to help continue
It's
our
thought provoking.
self-development and growth. And exactly, that's it. The more that we have these type of conversations, the more that these thought processes are at the forefront of our brains, and the more we're having those positive reactions to the things that we're talking about, and we're getting
Absolutely.
better every single day at something. We're
Right.
having a better reaction than we would have if we didn't talk about these type of things, if we didn't have these type of conversations that, like you said, provoked that positive way of thinking and having
Yes.
a more positive mindset and outlook on things, seeking the opportunity as opposed to, you know, getting down on the negatives. You know, how can I get better? Or like you were saying, you know, that you've been working on this a lot lately, or have been working on this more, and that's having kind of a sit down and assessing your own thoughts and feelings.
Oh man,
Why
that
am
is
I
for
feeling this way?
oh my goodness, that is for another
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. We'll
Yo,
end this one with that little
yeah,
bit there to let you guys know what's
but
coming. Because
that is a
I
great
love that. That is one of the best exercises that I think you could do, and talk about, you
yeah.
know,
That's a
working
bit that
on
is
your self awareness.
absolutely that's a sneak peek for next episode.
That's it.
Is
Dangle that little carrot in front of you guys before we
yep,
close this one out.
absolutely, absolutely.
So
But
the
I
tap
mean,
ins, the tap
um,
ins are so crucial. They're so important, and they have made such a huge positive difference and change in my life, in our
yeah,
lives, and that's why we continue to do it literally every single day, because of
you're
the positive reaction that we've had from it.
right. You're releasing, you're learning,
You're hitting your
you're
release valve from the mental
you're
warfares.
connecting,
Yeah,
right? You're generating new ideas, right?
relieving
There's so much
stress,
relieving
validating your
stress, yeah,
feelings,
releasing stress,
improving your communication. You know, we've
exact,
gotten better at
improving,
communicating how we feel by communicating. You know, because again, sometimes you'll say something and you don't like how it sounds. You know, so
yeah,
you'll get better at it, or the other person will tell you, "I don't like the way that you're wording this." You know, almost challenge you to find a better way to express yourself. That's how you do it, and you improve your communication. It reduces anxiety. You
yep,
know what I mean?
stress,
Not allowing
anxiety,
those
depression,
feelings to build up and fester. Depression,
yep,
you know, easing depression, or possibly easing depression. There's just an endless amount of things that we can go off on the benefits that we get from it. And we know that it's not just us. It's not just Kyle and Sean that are getting these type of benefits. You know, we've had conversations with other people. We've looked this type of stuff up. You know, Kyle being a psychology major, social science, going to school for all that type of stuff. You know, these are things. You know, we've made reference to Andrew Huberman. That was the clip that I sent you earlier about. Who was talking in that clip about having that daily communication, especially first thing in the morning, you know, having that person that you can look forward to and knowing that they care about
yeah,
you. And like you said, the science is there, man. This is all legitimate stuff that we're talking about. And that's why we're talking about it, because we know the benefits are legit. And that's
I
why
mean, we
we're
experienced
putting
it.
it out there. Yeah.
I mean, this is we're living it, you know, and I can't wait for the future with you guys. I can't wait till our followers uh continue on this journey with us because uh we're gonna do this together, guys. It's live.
100%.
We're gonna continue to blow each other's mind, iron sharp. We're gonna continue to have these thought provoking conversations, and the whole point is to connect and to hope and to get better, to live life, and to figure out ways to find our happiness because the world is not happy and hurt people. We have to change that cycle. We got to break that cycle. We got to
Facts.
change the way people are thinking and approaching things. So that way we can be a better place. But things are coming, people. Changes are coming. Growth is coming. Stay with us. Stay tuned because it's about to get good. It's about to get good. It's about to get great.
Yeah. Preach. All right. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.